were you when you first tattooed somebody?
Well, I don't know if deliberately tattooed's the right word, but when I was 3 years old, my father put a tattoo machine in my hand and said, do whatever you want. And I did an exploding rainbow skeleton on him, which apparently was more akin to someone drilling for oil into someone's ankle. But it's still there. Hi, my name is Isaac McDonald, and this is the back alley behind Lifetime Tattoo / Voodoo Donuts. We share an alley. It's funny. I've been tattooing here for on and again, off again most of my life, and I love it here. This dank, colorful alleyway, I would say, is one of the few places that it feels like home to me. I kind of feel like it was inevitable, because the next time I tattooed my dad, I think I was 7 or 8. I was drawing snails at the time. I had a little miniature comic book series called, I think it was Super Snail or Speedy Snail. I can't remember exactly, but I drew this little thing over and over again. So I felt confident when he asked me to tattoo him. I just drew it, made a stencil of it, and carved it into his leg. And I remember coloring over another tattoo that he had and being like, oh, that's the snail trail. That's he's been moving. And luckily he didn't like that tattoo that much. My parents split when I was real young, but my dad was like trying to help take care of my mom still. So he wound up teaching her how to tattoo, as well as my stepmom. So growing up, I kind of spent a bunch of time in different environments, even within tattooing, even within Denver tattooing, Texas tattooing. So that's a loaded one. It's fucking crazy. That's the short answer. All hail the new con.
Take me.
And the lighter.
For you, sir.
What did your father teach you about tattooing?
About tattooing?
What was it like to learn from him?
About life? Fucking. It was like coded in strange metaphor. The first thing I remember hearing about tattooing was it's the angle of the dangle magnified by the heat of the beat. And I just only have recently actually understood what the hell he means by that, because it's all very tricky. And for him, like, he tattooed in kind of a different scene. He learned how to tattoo at that point in Texas, and so he ran his stuff like higher, faster, like tattooed a different way than I do. And I think him trying to teach me how to tattoo made him re-examine and look at how he tattooed. So we kind of grew together. Like, it's about the heart of the thing. And he kind of couldn't explain it to me in a lot of ways. My dad's a very talented person. Like, he didn't have a lot of formal art training. He went to art school, but didn't finish it. And so it's like, a lot of what he does is very intuitive. And while he did teach me about a lot of artists and about a lot of art theory stuff, tips and tricks he had learned from other tattooers in his time, like, he just does his thing. And what makes, I think, us so strong is when he kind of gets lost in trying to create and kind of loses, it gets a little too loose, he asked me, he's like, hey, what do you think of this? How should I fill this in? Like, always, even when I was younger, he would I'm like, what the fuck, dude? You're way better than me. I don't fucking know, but I would try and tell him at least like what I would think he would tell me, or what I thought was right. And sometimes he'd be like, I don't know, but I like this other thing instead, but thank you. Kind of gave him a place to reference, or he'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna do that. That's awesome. The whole reason I moved to Idaho was so I could get more comfortable tattooing without asking people for advice. But usually most of the tattoos I do here, I would show my dad and run by him and be like, hey, does this thing look all right? Anytime anyone is apprenticing in tattooing, you gotta have a mentor nearby to quality control. I feel like that is something that is neglected sometimes. And you can see it when you see an apprentice did this, you're like, holy shit, that thing's pretty good. Someone was there to mentor them, right? Like, to keep them on track versus someone just blindly tattooing. This is a skilled handcraft. This isn't something you can just pick up and fuck around with, really, unless you kind of can too, but it's not to have any really serious results. You can ask any person that question with tattoos and they'll probably give you a different answer, which kind of makes it more elusive. But I would say it is to repel and to attract. And ultimately, fundamentally, in some way, shape, or form, like you're trying to bring something, like you're trying to put something onto you that will either change the way that something else comes to you or reflect people or whatever. Like, it's one or the other. Some people want to look tough, and some people want to look pretty. Some people wear it for a sense of self, some wear it just for purely decoration. I don't know. Art's complicated as fuck, bro. That's a whole. Like, you could wax poetic about that forever of what art even means to people. Is tattooing even an art? Like I said, I kind of think it's a handcraft that is for art enthusiasts because it itself is kind of a limited medium. You can get lines and shading and color, in my opinion, and everything else kind of just falls apart. You know, realism is also like that's probably, if you want to get fine art tattooing, that's a way to do it too. If you're like, oh man, I love this fucking whatever Caravaggio painting or whatever, you know, what example. There's tons of people who do that kind of stuff and they do it really well. But for me, like, I like the blood and guts because I grew up in a street shop. Like, I like people who are like, I wanted to go see my favorite band. You fucking tat it on me real quick, man. I'm like, hell yeah, of course.
We're out here on the street.
We're on the streets. Come on, you know? Like, I tattooed Sonic the Hedgehog on a crackhead for $100. Like, it's cool. You know, like gang members, fucking hoodlums, like all kinds of interesting, fun, seedy people. Like, you know, looking around even now, you know?
This is a street shop.
Oh yeah.
What's the difference between a street shop? Like, tell me how that dynamic is.
Oh man, we list the things that come to my head. The hours, the availability of walk-ins, the approach to tattooing, and the putting the street in street shop. Yeah, the sirens wailing, the kind of questionable safety of the neighborhood that it's in. And maybe the company that it attracts, but that's culture. That's kind of dynamic and thumping. People are always moving around here. It's on a busy street, hence street shop. You get out of your comfort zone a lot. You know, I've been puked on. I have been peed on. I had to tell a girl to stop twerking. I have smelled some unreasonable smells that I'm not even going to get into, etc. You know, throwing people out. I had to one of my coworkers was getting attacked by an angry bum, and I had to sneak up and put him in a full Nelson and defuse the situation. You know, we've thrown people out of the shop. There's been gun violence calls. There's been a dude with a machete was wandering around. A dude threw a rock at the shop one time. Like, there was a fight. My dad, my stepmom, and this couple and the shop guy, like 10 years ago, got into this full-on brawl in front of the shop. Like, that's because all over a weave. Or yeah, it was insane.
It's outlaw.
It's outlaws. Yeah, dude. It's just fucking on Colfax. I don't know if you live in Denver or know about Colorado. But Colfax is the longest avenue in America, fun fact, and it is the fucking craziest. For how much space it covers, it's kind of weird that every part of it is kind of seedy. It's not every part, I guess, but there's miles of shenanigans to be had on this street. And does it make you better? Well, it makes you like a little bit more resolve. I live in Boise, Idaho right now. It's a way different environment. Like, still a busy road, in like a kind of like more blue collar, like working class part of town. So we get a lot of like mechanics and people with older tattoos they want covered or fixed up, you know, like it's not, the bar is definitely not as crazy as it here in Denver. There's so many good tattooers in Denver. It's fucking crazy. But I feel like I can do anything within reason. I don't think I wouldn't want to do a portrait of your grandma. I'm not that guy. I don't have that skill set, you know, talk to someone who's rehearsed that. But most like illustration, like anything with a fucking outline or a technical line, even like a cool like thin line calligraphy thing, like fancy, sure, easy. I can cut it on you, no problem. You know, certain tattoo shops are custom only. Here, you can just bring a design that you like, and as long as it's not within like a reasonable radius, and it's not another person's like tattoo flash that we know or something like that, we'll probably do a version on you. Might change it a little bit, but generally, like, you bring a tattoo, we do it on you. That's it.
So that, and maybe
we just work up here, you know.
Yeah, we do that. Maybe this side to start, and then maybe
see how you're feeling goes back.
Yeah,
solid. I'm not gonna act like I'm ahead of the curve on certain things, but I feel like I got exposed to certain kinds of artwork, certain kinds of imagery, certain information about art, about tattooing, about people, about the softer or darker underbelly of people that I just feel a little bit more careful around most folks. And I feel like I can read people really well when they come into a tattoo shop and ask for a tattoo. Like, it's weird. It's like an intuitive thing, I guess, you know? And it's best not to make assumptions, and I try not to do that, but there's just something that really naturally comes out of me when I'm trying to give people a tattoo and trying to like get at the heart of why they're doing it and what they're trying to go for. And I just like I like tattoo it. I like it all. Some people are like, oh, do you only do traditional? Do you only do Japanese? I'm like, absolutely not. I'll do whatever the fuck you want. As long as it's like, it's gonna age well and it's authentic to you and it feels aesthetically like either pleasing or striking, you know, tough or soft or whatever you're into, you know, that like it, I don't know, kind of tribal, kind of tattoo, kind of you. Especially walk-in tattooing is fucking insane. You're like Rob Hostetter, who opened this shop in 2001, put it best to me. He was like, you're letting a stranger engrave your carcass for money. Like it's fucking, it's ridiculous. And that's kind of what makes it so cool and just fantastic. Like the first shift that I worked here, they paid me in Yu-Gi-Oh cards, but that night, a guy came in asking for a smiley face on the tip of his penis. You know, and we didn't, well, my dad was like, he's like, oh man, my kid's here. Like I would, but sorry. Like, you know, he's like, come back later. He's like, what'd you charge for that? And he's like, $300. It's like, okay. Guy left, but like, just, I don't know. Crazy shit. I guess coming back to your actual question of what is it like to grow up in a tattoo shop, you see a lot of boobies, like drugs and adult shit. Like you're kind of one of the boys from the get-go in a way. Even though like I remember as like a little toddler, like running up to people and showing them Hot Wheels cars in the tattoo shop. I'm like, oh, it's badass, dude. And I didn't know what that word was. I couldn't speak too well, but I started saying baddie. And that was what I would like pick up a Hot Wheels car and say. Most of the time growing up, you don't really relate to your school friends because whatever the fuck they're talking about, you kind of don't get. Thank God for video games and like Pokemon and shit like that, where I was like, oh, we can talk about that. Cool, like we have some common ground. Because otherwise, I didn't relate to any of these people. I like I said, like a weird, separate, darker world where I was, you know, going to punk rock shows with my dad when I was like 7. Like, I don't even know what counterculture is at that point, you know? It's you kind of don't even have a choice. We got flash on the walls of like beautiful classic tattoo designs to kind of evoke the feeling of an old 1940s tattoo parlor. There's artwork from up until I would say like the 1800s, late 1800s in the shop. But yeah, like just of the thing we call traditional tattooing.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Lifetime in particular, when you walk into this place, it's like a fucking carnival.
Yes.
What does it mean to you to be a historian of tattooing and to have all this old vintage flash around you, and like you went right the first time you tattooed me, you were pointing out everything and you knew the dates, you knew the names, you knew this guy learned under this guy,
this guy. Well, there's a lineage, and if you follow it and you look at the books and shit and you talk to enough old tattooers, I'm really blessed. Like I get the historian thing from my dad. He's the one who buys the old flash and talks to the people. He gets it from Rob Hostetter, again, the titan of tattooing who opened this place. Dude, really, he learned from Lefty Al Orsini, you know, that's cool. The deep cut of a die. We actually have one of his sheets in the shop. He's a San Diego tattooer. Like, you know, kind of thing. I want to say the Burt Grimm lineage. I could be wrong about that. I don't want him to yell at me, so I won't say that for sure. But every time we would have tattooers come through and talk tattoo history, I would just listen in. I get to hang out, peek my ear in. So I had a lot of fucking intel, and just on my own guest spots and adventures, talking with tattooers, just asking questions. Like I've mellowed out a little bit, but I'm hungry, man. I like this stuff. I think it's interesting as fuck, and it's fun to see what old tattooers have to say about it. You learn a lot of shit, and because you're already kind of in the door, because you're second gen, you get there's a lot more trust, which is cool. And I've always tried to be an endearing and just nice person anyway, so I think people don't mind telling me shit, you know, which is cool. That's how I try to be as helpful as I am helped, and I think that comes across. This place is crazy. No, this particular building is a temple dedicated to the spirit of tattooing. I think Tatao is what a wise teacher of mine once called it, the Holy Spirit of Tatao, and I think that's accurate to what this place is going for. You know, we've got religious imagery of most pantheons in here somewhere, in some way, mostly Vedic and Christian, I suppose, but still, like we got something for everybody. This place has always been a gathering place for really any kind of person, but mostly like misfits and weirdos and people who hang out on Colfax, you know? I don't know. My dad was for a time homeless. When I was really young, we like moved to here with Denver with no money. We were sleeping in the tattoo shop. Like it was kind of wild and uncertain, but you know, faith and love and dedication to tattooing got us this far. Like, we're doing great. It's fucking crazy.
Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugantim Pushtivardhanam Uvrarukamiva Bandhanan Yatur Mokshiyam Amritatum. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugantim Pushtivardhanam Uvrarukamiva Bandhanan Yatur Mokshiyam Amritatum.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a little. I've been doing this a little bit here and there. I really like it. It's a nice like meditation before you start. You know.
We were all sick ones back in 97 or whatever it was. End of 97.
So long till we get the free Fukushima Sumi. So I was like, okay, you know, better be safe. You know.
Yeah, let's have a good time. I made it up.
It takes a while.